1,615 tokens per second. So, I mean, everything is just running screaming fast right now. Hello and welcome to Tiger Triangle Technologies. I'm excited about today's topic. This has to be one of the most fundamental videos of the Ollama Fundamentals series. If you want to get the best performance, this can help you achieve that goal. It has been a while since my last video, but I just uploaded 3 new ones that are related to getting better performance out of Ollama. I have been doing some contract programming, did a couple of Blazor web apps, and got those all wrapped up. So here we are.
Oh, it's good to be back.
I hope you're doing fantastic. This is what we're going to cover in this session, but rather than talk about it, let's jump right in. I've created a document that should help us track things in a very methodical way. So as we go through this process to find out if we can improve the performance of Ollama, this will help us to see, are we making improvements? Are things getting worse? And be able to compare and contrast as we go along. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand how you can find out which model works best for your system. You'll be able to analyze the metrics and surface some things that's going on under the hood. That'll help you decide which model works best specifically for your system. We're going to look at Llama 2 and Llama 3, some very popular models, and then I have one here, mystery model, and this is the one that we're going to end up with. I'm going to show you at the end that just blows everything else away, at least for my system. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to type in Ollama-V just to show us the version that I'm running. 0.3.11. So we'll start with Llama 2. Let's type Ollama run Llama 2. And we don't want to forget to save verbose on here as a flag. So that'll give us the timings we need at the end to see how it performs. Tell me about AMD that make our processors and graphics cards. And away we go. Now we're going to jump on to the timings to look at that, so we don't have to sit here and watch it just spit out text. Because honestly, it is kind of slow, right? Okay, so at the end, if you use verbose, it's going to give you these statistics here. So we're going to copy that in to the document, and this is what we're going to compare with the others as we go along. Let's just do one more prompt on this because I want us to look now. Watch the GPU and the CPU utilization up here, and see let's see what's going on. Let's just name the 7 dwarfs in Snow White. I don't know, just trying to think of something. Okay, CPU 72%. GPU 9%. I mean, we really want this to be using our GPU, right? And it's like 100% CPU spiked there, but the GPU is just nothing. Okay, that's telling right there. So there's a problem here, but you know what? There was back in March of this year, it said Ollama now supports AMD graphics cards. I thought, great. You know, I have an AMD graphics card, but there's more, right? There's a problem. Mine is not officially supported here. And see, is that what's going on here? I will say bye just to get back to the prompt, command prompt, and Ollama has a way to see what the model's loaded into, and that is Ollama PS. Ollama PS says this model that we've been using is 100% CPU. That's the processor it's using, okay? And so, and it tells the size in here, and it's loaded for another 3 minutes. 5 minutes is how long it's loaded in memory. You can change that if you want to, but that's the default. So, but 100% processor, this is what I want to point out. And that's not great usually, right? Because you want it to use your GPU usually. So that's problem number 1 we need to fix on my system. And the workaround is this person, Like Love Want, has a GitHub page, and a big shout out to this person for creating this, and what it does is it gives you another version of Ollama to run. It's called Ollama for AMD. So if you want to do this, I have just created a video that walks you through the process of how to get this running on your system. And so check that out, but we won't spend much more time here. But I've already done that, so let's see what difference it does make on mine. I wanted to start using my GPU. The reason it's not doing it on mine, even though I have Ollama for AMD installed, is I have an environment variable set to force it to use the CPU. There's an environment variable called HIP visible devices. Similar to if you're running NVIDIA, it'd be CUDA visible devices. This is HIP visible devices. I have it -1, so it will make it use the CPU right now. And the reason I did that is I wanted to force it to make it act like what it was before I installed Ollama for AMD. Okay, so I just wanted you to see the difference. So we're going to remove that now. That's going to allow it to now use the GPU on an unofficial card because I've installed that workaround, that hack. And we're going to say OK and get out of there. So now another important thing is I need to restart Ollama. I need to stop Ollama and restart it. So I'll do that, and then we'll pick back up in just a second. Let's do Ollama. Let's just see if it's running. Okay, so now we're gonna run, let's clear the screen out here, and we're gonna run Ollama, same thing, Ollama run, Ollama 2. Let's just see, is anything loaded right now? It shouldn't be, right? Because we restarted everything. Okay, so Ollama run, Ollama 2, and then don't forget verbose. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just get back out of here and check to make sure it's in, it's using the GPU now. Yeah, so 100% GPU. So that's what we wanted to see. Let's jump back into it, and we can use the up arrow to get back to that command pretty quick. Right, I don't know if you can notice it, but it looks like it's going faster to me, right? And so at the end, we should see, we'll jump to the timings. Also, look at the GPU utilization. 99% now, CPU's only 22%. There's definitely some stuff that was going on here in the GPU. All right, so total now down here at the bottom really is the one we're gonna look at the most. It's 21.44 tokens per second. That's not too bad. It's a pretty good improvement over what I was doing before. And you can just kind of tell it was improved, right? So let's take a look in here. We have a comparison of 6.28 tokens per second before, and now that's using GPU is 21.44 tokens per second. Not bad. It's a pretty good increase, and you can tell there's a difference, but you know what? Not quite good enough, in my opinion. It's better, but it's not something I would enjoy using often. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over and use Ollama 3. We're going to do it first on the CPU and then the GPU. So I'm going to have to put the HIP visible devices back in as an environment variable, and then so to force it to use the CPU, and then restart Ollama. I am forcing it to use the CPU this time, and we are going to use Ollama 3. So Ollama run, Ollama 3, and we want to say verbose. Let's just check real quick and see Ollama PS, what is it running? Okay, so Ollama 3 is loaded 100% in CPU. We're going to watch that up here to see if that correlates with that as well. So let's up arrow back into that command. It's already loaded in memory, so it pops right in. And we're going to give it the same old prompt. All right, we're going to jump to timings on this, but you can just see, let's watch for a little bit. It looks, fairly slow still. If we were to use this, we were, it's not going to bring a lot of joy. Okay, for the timings on this one, it is 5.8 tokens per second. And so let's take a real quick look how that's comparing in here. It's slower, right? So overall, we're getting the slowest time here. So that's using the CPU, Llama 3, bigger model, more parameters. So now we want to enable the GPU again by removing that environment variable, and we'll test it. Okay, so now we're using the GPU now. We'll verify that though. Ollama PS GPU 100%. All right, so Ollama, oops, I guess I can just use the up arrows real quick, bring that back, and so we're gonna give it the first prompt. Remember to keep an eye on the GPU and CPU, see if that matches up to what we expect. And here we go. All right, GPU utilization 98%, 4 gig of RAM going in there, 15 gig though is system. This is interesting because it's pegging out our GPU now. It's also pegging out our system memory, and look how slow it looks now. It looks like, to me, if I had to guess, the transfer between the GPU and the CPU, and the system memory, it's taking a lot of time. Also, I don't think our card's fast enough.
A few moments later.
You guys, that was painful, not gonna lie. As much as I love running local models on my machine, I would never use this. It took 4.5 minutes just to get a response from this. I'm blazing 2.89 tokens per second. Interesting, right? That Llama 3 ran not fast, but faster with the CPU than it did with the GPU.
They've done studies, 60% of the time it works every time.
And this is why it's really important for you to be able to see these timings, to be able to watch, to know your system, to know your resources, to watch what's going on there, to know whether what is the best fit. Llama 3 is a great model. It's just not a great model for me, not for my system, not for this system. We can do better. All right, it's time now to unveil the mystery model. Llama 3.2. So it includes lightweight and multimodal Llama models. Right now, the ones we're going to concentrate on is the 1 billion and 3 billion parameter lightweight versions of Llama 3.2. They're really geared toward edge devices. Think about maybe IoT devices, mobile. But another thing it's good for is systems like mine that can't handle these heavier, larger models with large amount of parameters. And so this is a pretty recent release, and we're gonna install this and compare it to what we had. It shows the benchmarks on Meta's website. You're gonna look at it, it does pretty well, but again, we don't really care about the benchmarks overall. What we care about is, does it run on our system? Does it run well? Does it perform? Is it fast? Now, being a smaller model, smaller amount of parameters, it's not going to be able to reason as good as some of these larger models. But, when it comes to running locally, I think speed is the thing we're looking for. I'll go ahead and I've forced it to use CPU, restarted Ollama, so let's jump right in. I've also already pulled the model from Ollama. To do that, you would just type in Ollama pull and Llama 3.2, right? So I've already done that. If you do Ollama run and you haven't pulled it, it'll pull it for you and be ready to use at that point. We've already pulled it down, so I'm just gonna have to do Ollama run Llama 3.2, and we're gonna say verbose in this case because we want to see those timings. So let's start it up. It's gonna pull it into memory. Now we're gonna use the same prompt and let's see how it performs. I want to be able to see the stats on our GPU and our CPU and look at the processing, look at the memory as we're running this. And instead of the overlay, I'm just going to have this up where we can see the graph as well. Okay, now we're running, remember, CPU right now, not GPU. You can see the CPU come up, and you can also see the words on the screen going fairly fast, but we want it to be faster, right? But again, this is CPU, and I'll jump to the timings. All right, so our CPU, as you can see, it did get up there pretty high. It didn't like max it out, but also the memory, I have 16 gig. It went up to almost 12 gig of utilization there. GPU put along, not hardly doing anything because it's not using GPU. All right, but that was 12.42 tokens per second on the eval rate. So that's how it's evaluating our response. And not bad, but we want it to do better, right? So let's go back. We're going to record this now for the CPU. We want to allow it now to use the GPU, and we'll pick back up here in a second. All right, so now we type Ollama PS and we see that it is 100% GPU. Of course, I have deleted that HIP visible devices equals -1 out of our environment variables, and so it is allowing the Ollama for AMD to now use our AMD GPU. All right, so let's go ahead and say Ollama run, Ollama 3.2, and verbose. Should pop right up because it's already loaded in memory. All right, we're giving it that first prompt, the same one, just to be fair. It looks blazing fast right now. This is more like usable, right?
This is the way.
So total duration was 5 seconds at 94.26 tokens per second on the eval rate. And check out the prompt eval rate, 1,615 tokens per second. So, I mean, everything is just running, screaming fast right now. So let's go ahead and record that in. We'll run our other prompt. You can see the difference here, right? Between what was in this one. Here, we're now getting a huge performance gain. All right, so we're popping back over, and this time I want you to notice we have the graph so we can see it. It did utilize the GPU here. It popped up quite a bit, and so let's keep an eye on that this time. It's gonna go fast, right? But we're gonna keep an eye on this second prompt. All right, what is the different types of inferences in the context of logic? Let's go. All right, you should see it spike up here in the GPU. Now, so we know it's using that, where before it was all CPU. GPU was doing nothing. You could see it was already done, just popped up, and it's done in 6 seconds. Again, it went really fast, 82.11 tokens per second. And so it looks like a model like this, Ollama 3.2, is a really good choice for my system if I want it to go fast. And I do. It may not be as accurate or I can't reason as good as some of the others, obviously, but it does a really good job on certain tasks. So one thing we should do is get the stats of the Ollama 3.2 model that we're using and record that in here as well. And so to do that, I'm going to say /by to jump out of here. I'm going to type Ollama show Ollama 3.2. And now it has given us the model information. So we see that it is a 3.2 billion parameter. And obviously that's a lot less, and it's half of what Ollama 2 was. It's much less than Ollama 3. Here we do have a very large context length though. I don't think that was our problem before. I think the problem was just the larger models. So I gotta tell you, before where it was just painful to use, it is now fun again, right? It's not just like, wow, I can run local models. And now it's like, yeah, I can run local models and it's also pretty fast. You might be thinking, well, I don't know what this model information means, but here's what you can do. You can run Ollama and tell it to explain it and then copy those in and it'll give you a breakdown. All right, let's look at final results. Now there are a ton of models out there and you could do the same thing with those. We chose a few models from Meta. Here's what we found. Ollama 2 had a huge increase when we had it utilize the GPU. Ollama 3 actually was better with the CPU than it was the GPU. And so Maybe if I doubled my memory, maybe that, that transfer into that was a huge bottleneck. I don't know. I definitely need to try that. There's another system that I have. It's running NVIDIA GPU. It has, I think, 32 gig, and I should try some testing on that. And this was just a second prompt that I really didn't show much because of time. But if we go down here to Ollama 3.2, it was not too bad on the CPU. It was blazing fast on the GPU. It seemed very optimized for that and worked really well for my system. So a mini or a small model like Llama 3.2 or 5 from Microsoft, one of those are probably going to be best for my system. Yours may be different, but the process of finding out which one works best is going to be very similar. Hey, leave a comment if you've tried this and if you found some that was really slow with your system or found one that worked great. Love to hear about it. And with that, I will say /bye for now. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time.